In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the DCDiag domain controller diagnostic utility to troubleshoot domain controllers and check the health of your domain controllers and to test DNS settings. So, what is DCDiag? DCDiag is a Microsoft utility that is used to analyze domain controllers. In a forest or enterprise, you can analyze a single domain controller. You can analyze all of them at once in your forest or enterprise. So let's take a look at some examples of how to use this command. You can use this command remotely, or you can use it local on the server. But what I have found out is there's some issues with this command running it remotely against your domain controllers. So, for example, well, let me back up. If you want to check the syntax of the command, you can just use DCDiag with the question mark. If I type the command right, DCDiag, and there you will see all of the command line switches that are available with this tool. And there is, let me scroll down here. Alright, I've got a lot of stuff on my screen. Let me clear my screen and run this again. Alright, there we go. So here you can see all of the command line switches. I won't go through all of these. I go through some of these in more details in my blog post. But what I want to point out is the list of known tests. This command actually runs several tests to get your domain controllers, and when I counted a total of 30 different tests, and some tests have tests within the test. But unfortunately, the help command menu here doesn't go into very good details on these. But if you check my blog post, there is a link to a blog post by Ned Pyle called "What Does DCDiag Actually Do?" It goes into more depth on each one of these tests, so that will help you understand better what this command will do. But let's take a look at a couple of examples on how to use this command. So remotely here, to run this against my domain controller, I'll do DCDiag, and then I've got to do the S switch for server, and then all you do is specify your domain controller and hit enter. And this all looks good. When you do just a test, domain controller test, there's not any, I haven't found any issues running this command remotely. But it's when you do the DCDiag test DNS, and sometimes this takes a few seconds here for it to complete. You'll see that it comes back with I'm missing several DNS records, and that's actually not true. It's not an issue with DNS or domain controllers. It's actually an issue with the command. So I'm going to jump over to my domain controller, and I'll run the DNS test. Okay, so the test DNS command completed locally on the server, and you can see that it is giving no errors. All the DNS configuration, domain controller settings are correct. So I would recommend you run this command locally on your domain controllers rather than remotely. So just to do a basic test, all you gotta do on the local server is just type in DCDiag, and you'll see here it will run through each test and tell you if it passed or not. And I've got a healthy domain controller here. I've got no errors on it. And if you're curious, want more information to display, one good switch to use is the /v for verbose. That will display more information about each test, and you can see the difference there. It really displayed a lot more information. So again, if you're curious, want more details on each test, just use the /v switch, and it will display a lot more details about each test. And you can combine, if you do a /c for comprehensive, it will run the both domain controller and DNS test at the same time. You can do a /a to run against all domain controllers in your forest. And then let me show you this one remotely, even though I recommend you not run this remotely. But if you're on a local DC, the /q is helpful because the DCDiag command can display a lot of information. If you want to see just the errors, you can do a /q, and it will just display the errors. So if you do that, if you do like a /a to run against all domain controllers, again, that can display a lot of information. You can do just a /q, and that will really just display the errors. And to jump back to the DCDiag command, just like the domain controller test, see, I believe in here it will tell you that the DNS test also runs several tests. It'll do basic tests. It'll test the DNS forwarders, DNS delegation. It'll test DNS record registration. And I list all this on the blog post. I believe that information is also in the help menu here. But that pretty much is a very simple command to use. And that pretty much wraps up all of everything I wanted to cover in this video. I've got a lot more details on my blog post regarding this command, with several examples with the switches on how to use the command. And I've also got some output from a normal running domain controller, and then I've got an output on what you would see on a failed domain controller. I stopped the KDC service and that logon so you can see what the errors look like. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.